Okay, it's 6 o'clock UTC on a Sunday evening. It's the Gin and Tonic Show. It's the 7th of June, 2015. It is just like every other Sunday, and it has been that, for a couple of months, for quite a long time, that we've had the Gin and Tonic Show, except everything is different. Everybody knows by now, I think, that the Gin and Tonic channel on YouTube was closed due to some complaints by some weak-minded Muslims who just went ahead and tried to shut up anybody who criticizes them, which is why I strongly suspect that this is a doing of the 1001 Inventions Company in Manchester in UK, because I got the same identical wording on 2 other channels. So this is, and on this other channel there was only 1 video, and that was of 1001 Inventions. So it looks like they cannot handle criticism. It looks as though they cannot handle any kind of attention now that they are trying to get cozy and comfy with the United Nations organization, with UNESCO. And they are like really going out and cancelling and checking and going to great lengths to remove any kind of criticism that they can find on the net. They've taken down one of my videos on Daily Motion now. They have not gone to Vimeo and LiveLeak, but I suppose as soon as they find that, they will do the same thing there. Plato, I suspect this is you. Could you please mute your microphone because we're getting feedback? So anyway, so what we're doing is we're just going ahead doing the Gin and Tonic Show. We're just going to be talking about Islam. I don't know if this is going to hamper operations. I don't know if this is going to be any different. We're just talking about Islam, and I'm just drawing attention to the fact that we have Islam in the 21st century, and I still maintain that it is not the best thing to have, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about why. And we are not Christians, we're not Rastafarians, we're not Zoroastrian, we're not Hindus, we're not Sikhs, we're not affiliated with any god, which is why I think we are in a very good position to objectively report, investigate, and research Islam. And that is what we're doing. Daesh is active again in Saudi Arabia, but there are other topics. I mean, a lot of it is, of course, the headlines are full of what Daesh are doing in Iran, in Iraq, and in Syria. But somebody like Imran Awam, a criminologist at Birmingham City University in the UK, he comments on the call of Daesh to join them, and he labels it a blatant fake. He says the people responding to this are thrill seekers and those with a mundane life, seeking a sense of identity and belonging. And this is something that I see a lot of times, that people who join Islam are often saying, well, I joined because I was into alcohol and drugs and things like that. And they like the rigorous routines, and they like this socio-economic and socio-political system that they are joining, which gives them a sense of belonging, and it gives them, the feeling that they're not being criticized and that they are being taken as really valuable people, even if they're not. So what this criminologist is saying is that they go to Syria, they go to Iraq, and they can't really handle these, the wide open eyes of a decapitated head, and then they want to get back to their usual lives, and no matter how boring they thought their previous lives were. But it's difficult, because once they attempt to return, because the rest of the world does not see the reward these people hoped for and were willing to pursue. The rest of the world only looks on in horror and frustration, trying to stop this attitude towards other human beings, as though 10 centuries of progress never happened. So the people returning home are seen with some suspicion that they actually were willing to join Daesh. But that's not all what Mr. Awan is doing. He's also looking at the root of the to prevent primitive marketing and the childish promise of something called heaven. So, and he addresses 2 factors which match exactly what we've said for months and months, and that impressionable, uneducated, and unfortunately unstable people see a role for themselves. They see the recognition, and they hope that they are going to get the stability that they are lacking in their current lives when dealing with fundamentalist Muslims. But then a lot of times this does not happen. Now, Daesh are capturing, and this is, I've said this so many times, they're capturing armored Humvees, okay, this US military vehicle assigned to the Iraqi army. And unfortunately, they're turning them into suicide bombers or suicide vehicles, because these vehicles can carry a ton of anything. It could also be a ton of explosives. And it's a ton, literally, of explosives. And it shows how dangerous it is to arm one side if the other side gets their hands on your stuff. Because these Humvees are armored, you know, so you can't even go and kill the driver before he goes and rams a hospital or something and blows up. Now, another side effect is that Iran and its Shia clergy are gaining an influence, because the Iraqi army seems to be useless and unable to do anything about the Sunni terrorist groups. You know, they lost Mosul, Ramadi, the provincial capital, Iraq, and then the ancient city of Palmyra. And now on the other front, the Western Front, they look set to take over Aleppo. But now, while the Daesh bunch are alive and killing, Iran can use the conflict on the diplomatic front. And that is how they are hoping to gain some influence from the Shia side. And it's not exactly a situation. It's quite complex. It's not easy at all. And I'd hate to be a strategist here. So if somebody were to say, what is the solution? I wouldn't know what to do. And then the United Nations is trying to cut off the financial supplies to Daesh, and they increase the raids in which they plundered the entire villages. So then Daesh is now taxing the population and extorting money from them in the name of their God. And that's how they're making money. So welcome to the religion of peace and justice. And what do they use the money for? Well, for example, to hire experts who can refine the chemical weapons they are apparently using. I mean, that's despicable. I mean, would they refrain from using nuclear weapons in the name of their God? I doubt it. And does anyone remember Raif Badawi from Saudi Arabia, KSA, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? The blogger who questioned guards and the religious police in Saudi Arabia? He was sentenced to 10 years of jail time and 1,000 lashes, you know, like any civilized country in the 21st century would do.
Well, how many lashes has he received already?
Internal and international criticism, they would release him. But no, they will go ahead and punish him for his crime.
Stop. How many lashes he already received?
He has confirmed the sentence. Welcome to the tolerant religion where there is no compulsion in religion.
Stop.
The same, I don't know, the same kind of missing compulsion you can find in Europe, like in the Balkans. A video has surfaced where Kosovo Albanians have threatened non-Muslims with what they call horrible days. Because Muslims in the region, which extends all the way into Bosnia, are highly mixed, okay, with anything from cultural Muslim all the way to fundamentalist hardcore fighters and slaves for their Allah. Now, I'm not entirely sure the close proximity of different religions like Christians, Orthodox, and Muslims will not ignite again at some stage. And I also wonder whether the Pope who will be visiting there will still say that Islam can't be seen as violent, and he will still keep an open door for Daesh. What I find interesting personally is because, you know, after seeing the horrific living conditions on the western outskirts of Doha, is whether Qatar will in effect be a host to the Football Championship in 2022. Because FIFA, the Football Federation, suffered corruption scandals galore and then elected the same president who enabled them, you know, pretending as though nothing happened. And there's serious and severe allegations that Russia and Qatar were awarded the hosting roles only due to this corruption. And FIFA simply carries on as usual. I find this weird. But now the investigations in the US and Switzerland have started a different kind of ball rolling. And I wonder whether His Royal Highness and Prince of Jordan will step in and save the day. But then could he act against the Emir of Qatar and take away the 2022 hosting role? I don't know. Anyway, then a court in Egypt has overruled the decision regarding Hamas in the Gaza Strip, because initially Egypt had decided to call Hamas a terrorist organization, now which I happen to agree with for obvious reasons. Now a court said, no, 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 Hamas is not a terrorist organization, even though they're still vowing to destroy another country, constantly chucking explosive into Israel, threatening the civilians living there. Oh well. Now every time I hear the UK Prime Minister or the US President mention mutual respect when talking about Islam, I cringe. I also cringe when I see the pathetic attempts at accommodating the whims of Muslims who are using religion to further their political ideology and the installation of Sharia. Now, what caught my attention this time? Well, it's Indonesia, the home of the highest Muslim population of any country on this planet, and home of Sharia and floggings and gender segregation, and so much violence is disgusting. Well, they're pointing to more open and secular areas as though they are representative of the entire country. Well, the US, and I get this, has decided to shift the calendar to accommodate the 7th century superstitions of Muslims by declaring that this year, the US Independence Day, the 4th of July, will come early on the 4th of June. 10 days, the 17th of June. So if the spotters in KSA will spot the moon, that is, okay, we don't know yet, because the observatory able to predict moonrise with the precision we have come to expect from modern 21st century technology, that institution is not asked or considered. Spotters are sent out to the corners of the country to report the sighting of the moon, which will determine the beginning of Ramadan, the brilliant month for Muslims. If anybody wants to know what Ramadan is or something, just you go ahead and ask. Oh, and just like the Catholics have their pedophiles or homosexual priests or whatever, Islam has its pedophiles, the grooming gangs in the UK, and now a pedophile in the US. A member of Islamic relations. I wonder why Muslims always need these relations and these representations in all the different countries. Anyway, this guy was one of the people found to have had sex with kids in Florida. And I mean, these kids were like 10 years old. And religions sure as hell don't protect anyone from anything, and they don't provide for any positive morality. Now, if a Catholic or Muslim, they're decent and tolerant and peaceful, then they're better than their gods. That's all they are. I mean, I don't know if you remember this Haggard guy who was screaming against homosexuality, and then it turned out that he was a homosexual himself. So this is quite strange. And then what is quite interesting is that in Turkey you have elections, and the AKP, the current Erdogan party, has lost out quite a bit, and it seems that Turkey does not really want the current president to go ahead and give himself more power to turn Turkey into a more Islamic state. So this is going to be interesting to watch what Turkey is going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so that's end of the news for today, for this week. We're now going to go and let's talk to some people. This is the Gin and Tonic Show. We are a show which is talking about Islam. We're atheists here, so we're not trying to convert anybody. If anybody wants to, needs a God and wants to stay with Islam, the Islamic God, that's fine. Just don't expect any kind of sympathy from me for the superstitious rituals that are current, that are required to be a good Muslim. But if any Muslim wants to join us, please feel free and explain it to us. Maybe we're seeing it all wrong. We're still the 7th of June, and we are talking about Islam. It's a Gin and Tonic Show, and I see that we have actually quite a few people joining us today. And I don't know if I should distribute our waiting numbers, if anybody... Okay, does anybody have a topic that they want to talk about regarding... Let me start from my left. So I'm going to start with Akbar. Do you have any topic you want to suggest?
No, I don't have a topic to suggest, but again, all I want to say is that if you want to be impartial and if you want to have an objective analysis, the kind of generalization you make on your show, usually they amount to what Sam Harris does, which is under the guise of being an atheist. It's really hatred, not hatred, but um, uh, irrational, I would say, irrational repulsion for a certain group under the guise of being, quote unquote, an atheist. So, for example, let me clarify a couple of things for you. You said, why do Muslims need an association like CARE in the United States? Well,
can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Because what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to gather some topics. Otherwise, we're going to spend a lot of time on topics, talking without giving the others a chance. I've written down objective treatment. Is that what you would like to treat? What you would like to talk about?
Yes, I would like to talk about having a rational approach. I mean, I will compare Catholicism, Judaism, and Islam in the United States, and I will give an objective comparison.
Okay, then let's talk about this just now. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right. Then the next up on my left is Alicia. How do I pronounce your name? Sorry, your microphone is still muted.
It's muted in the Hangout, just on the top, right?
On top of the screen, if you go up, yeah. It was unmuted for a second. Now you've muted. Push it again.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, now?
Yes, now we can hear you loud and clear. No, now you're gone again. Yeah, now you're there again.
Okay. For me, the fact that YouTube is banning channels, and the other thing with Islam, I've noticed that, like, I am Muslim, and I've noticed over time that if someone comes up with something fairly forward-minded, the reactionary forces take it over, whether it's an Islamic center or a website. It's sort of somehow, something like branch stacking, I think. So, that's a problem.
Sorry, for some reason, I hear you, but I do not understand what you're trying to say. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can you use different
so
words?
One thing, YouTube channels being blocked or cancelled.
Okay.
The other thing, with there's a tendency, if there are Muslims who are forward-thinking, they start an Islamic center or a website, and it gets taken over by the reactionary people.
Okay. So you would like to discuss, or you would just like to draw attention to the fact that this is happening? To draw attention,
yeah. Yes. It makes it very hard because things go at 1 step, 3 steps back.
Okay. Now I get what you're talking about. That should be interesting. Okay. What do I call you? Do I call you
Alicia?
Or?
Just Alicia. Fo is my last name.
Okay, then it's just Alicia. Okay, thank you, Alicia. Thank you very much. GP said doesn't have a microphone, so he's just listening in. Jeremy, do you have any specific topic?
Not apart from this new format, which is really confusing me. Like it says there's like 56 people, but there's no way there's 56. So maybe you could have like a video on a channel that hasn't been closed down to explain like the new format, because I don't really get it.
Well, there is no new that what we're doing is I'm just starting a Hangout, and then I just advertise the fact on Facebook and Twitter, so that if somebody wants to talk about any specific topic within Islam, that they can just join us. What the future is going to be, I do not know. I do not know whether YouTube is going to reinstate it or whether we need to have a completely different format. I do not know. Now, due to circumstances, it's also pretty difficult for me to find the time to do some things, to find out if we should move to Vaughan TV or what we should do. So this is all in transition at the moment. Nothing is finalized, so I do not know, for example, what is going to happen in 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe we're going to have a different format then.
I think like something like Vaughan TV would be better, because at the moment it's saying like 56 people on my one, and I think that's a lot. It's lying, basically. I can't believe there's because there's a bunch of people listed that like Jacqueline Glenn. I mean,
no, those are just had any time an invention, an invite became or something like that, just a connect. So this is just like a group in this chat. So I
think it'd probably be better to have it on Vaughan TV. You can actually see how many people are actually watching.
Well, maybe this is all the circle people.
Yeah, could be. That's the circle people from family, friends, and anything else. And
Ike, while you're on the microphone, anything that you would like to talk about?
No, I'm mostly just to record this whole thing here. So I'm listening mostly, and maybe if something comes up, I will say something.
Okay, then next up on the one position, somebody called Pretty. Hello, operator. It's me again. Is there anything specific that you would like to talk about?
Hello, Spam.
Hi.
Unfortunately, I don't actually have a topic to talk about. I'm just a long-time listener, and I didn't really want to miss the show.
Okay,
but
brilliant.
One of the topics that is of very interest for me is the future of the show, or maybe the movement to another platform, but you actually answered this question previously. Yes, the full name is The Pretty Apostate. I registered this account a long time ago, almost a year ago. From that year, every week I wanted to find time to join the podcast, join the Hangout. And every week, for some reason, something came up and I couldn't just connect or be home at the time of the live show.
Okay. So what caught you today? Was it Twitter or Facebook or what was it?
Well, actually, last week I was very upset because the show was not up and I couldn't find any information about it, not on Facebook, not on Twitter. After some time, I actually found the link to the Hangout and figured that it would be this week on the Hangouts.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. But the stop spamming in Twitter is stop one spamming.
Yes, I already found it. It took me about half a day. So I will be mostly muted. But if some topic would be of interest, I could join and discuss. I'm from a Muslim majority country, but Muslims here are like casual Muslims or cultural Muslims.
I like this casual Muslim. That's nice.
That's what I call them, because some of them eat pork, they constantly drink, and actually most people like it that way here. This post-Soviet country. And
okay, can I come back to you later and ask you for a different casual Muslim?
Well, it would be a little... Yes, of course, but it would be a little hard for me because I'm actually an ex-Christian.
Okay, it doesn't matter, but you can still have an opinion on casual Muslims. Maybe a casual Christian and a casual Muslim have more in common than Muslims and Christians. All right.
I'll try to stay. It's very late at night here, but I'll try to stay awake as hard as possible. And sorry for my bad English.
No, not at all. I think it's excellent. Then maybe I'll put you in front, so in case you drop off, then nobody will mind so much if you snore so loudly or something.
Okay, and one question: do you have the ability to manually control the microphones?
I have not installed this feature. There is a control room, but I need to start it. I need to install it beforehand. I did not install it, so I do not have a way of controlling the microphone here at the moment.
Oh, okay, because I think most of the people that are given the control who speaks to you would be the most reasonable solution.
Yeah, but I think this controlling... I think we're all grown-ups. I think we should all be able to find the mute button. I think we should all have, the amount of civility required here that we can mute while we are not talking. So, and in the past, it's worked really, really well. And I must admit that I hate this control-freak mentality that I see in Muslim chat rooms where you are only given the microphone for a limited amount of time period, and This is always always horrible. So I try not to do that, and I always try and appeal to common sense and civility. And up until now, it's been working. If not, then I'll just have to install it. You're right.
Well, okay. So I'll not use the mute button in the Hangouts. I'll use the mute button on my headphones.
It doesn't matter which way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that in advance. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Other people are waiting for their turn.
Okay. No, it's only one left, and this is Plato. Would you like to talk about anything specific?
Not at the moment.
Okay, brilliant. So I've got a couple of, well, then pretty apostate. Let's start. Let's go reverse then. You normally listen in and you just enjoy. Why are you interested in Islam then? Is there any specific reason?
Well, not actually. Just trying to learn as much as possible about the world around me, about the people I talk to every day, and just curiosity. And I really like your show. It's very informative, and you can find different opinions here.
Yeah, that's what we try at least. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. So then, what do you see as a casual Muslim or a casual Christian when it comes to their beliefs? Does it mean they are less stringent, or they tend to cherry pick more, or is it just that they have a more relaxed atmosphere or attitude towards their religion, their belief system?
Well, from what I hear, Muslims over here and Muslims, for example, in Europe, are two separate categories. For example, most of the people I know don't actually pray even once a day. Most of them didn't read the Quran, and they're like, we're Muslim, but they do not actually follow a lot of the tenets of Islam. So basically, what it amounts to is that they associate with being Muslim without actually being Muslim in the Islamic or Europe Islamic definition of that term. This comes from the Soviet state's stance on religion.
Okay.
If you remember correctly, the Soviet Union, when it was created, they had a lot of witch hunts against all the religious associations. You can still find different posters from that time. Well, they're mostly anti-Christian, that demonize the popes and all the types of religious workers. Because of that, religion is not very rooted in the minds of common people. And most of the young people I know are actually atheists, especially from the Christian parents. And only a few of my friends actually, or the people I know, actually read the Quran. And that was a very big life changer in their life, because one of them completely apostated, and the other two, they actually turned more toward Islam.
Okay. So what do you think the minimum requirement is to be a Muslim, to be considered a Muslim, other than the Muslim saying, I am a Muslim?
Well, it's very hard to say. Depending on what definition of the Muslim you say. Well, some people can think that I'm a Muslim because I think I'm a Muslim, because I say I'm a Muslim. And in his terms, he would be literally a Muslim. But if you follow the Quran, I think you should follow the Quran if you consider yourself a Muslim. If you dismiss it or cherry pick, or you forget some parts of it, basically you're a heretic. So yeah. So what we call what we call radicals are actually the ones that follow the faith. I don't say that that's a good thing, but that's my stance on that.
Okay. Can I ask the others? What do you people think? What is the minimum requirement where you would consider somebody to be a Muslim? Just anyone, and just keep it civil.
Calling yourself, saying that you are a Muslim.
That's it. If you
In this-
say
in
they're
this
a Muslim, that's it. Regardless of what level they are.
It depends on which country, but in this country, that's pretty much as far as it goes. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
If you accept the Shahada,
Okay, but accepting the Shahada means that you believe that there's only one God, in other words, the Tawheed, and then the other thing is that you think that Muhammad is some super guy, right?
yeah.
Okay. What about, well, what about Quranists?
Don't they also accept the Shahada?
No, they don't think that Muhammad was any had any divine revelations or something to provide to the people. That he was just another bloke, and what he said is not a rule or is not to be taken seriously over and above the Quran.
I'll have to think about that.
Alicia, what do you think? What is the minimum requirement, or what would your minimum requirement be before you consider somebody a Muslim?
Well, I like the idea that there's a type of Muslim called a Muslim heretic or a Muslim atheist. That you
What?
can just... Yes. That if you... because words are tricky things. I think if... I don't know how to express this, but I know people who are Muslims who essentially are atheists, but they've got the heritage and they value it. So I think it's such a broad word, really. There's so many different types of people who are calling each other not Muslims, or are calling themselves Muslims when they don't really fit the requirements.
Okay, no, we have to try. You have to explain this. How can you be an atheist when you believe? I mean, what is a Muslim? A Muslim is somebody who believes there's a God. Isn't that the minimum requirement?
Yeah, that's the minimum requirement, but there are people who grew up in a Muslim family and value their heritage and their values, and they don't believe in God, but they still see themselves as Muslim. I think it's like a tribal identity, or like the West is a Christian civilization, so-called. I think it's something similar to that.
Can I ask something?
Go.
Yeah, sure.
Because, I mean, I come from a so-called, I call it this way, from a cultural Muslim family. And I always, in my youth, I always called myself a Muslim, but I had no fucking idea what that means. I just became from my parents, you are a Muslim. I never questioned it. I just accepted it. Okay, I'm a Muslim. The only thing I knew was I shouldn't eat. I shouldn't eat pig meat, like anything from the pig, or do the Ramadan. Both I should do or should not do. And that was the only thing I knew about Muslims. And as soon as I began to read the Quran myself, I knew I was never a real Muslim, nor was my mother, nor my father, nor anyone in my family I knew. So the minimum requirement, like Jeremy said, if you call yourself a Muslim, from the outside it would be fine, but I think if you read the Quran, you have this minimum requirement level much higher. Like you have to believe in God.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in God,
Sure.
in my eyes, you have no idea what a Muslim means, and you can't call yourself a Muslim. It's like calling yourself a physician or a doctor or something like that. If you have no idea what you're doing or what you can do, you shouldn't call yourself like that.
It's quite like
yeah, but people do. People do.
So it's quite like people calling themselves Christian in the UK. The Richard Dawkins Foundation did a follow-up study to the census, asking the people who had called themselves Christian, do they believe, in Jesus as Lord and Saviour? And like over half of them said no. Well, why did you call yourself Christian? Well, because I'm a good person. I mean, I don't really get why people want to give themselves religious labels when they don't even seem to know what it means.
Well, to be fair, we didn't invent the labels. Can we agree on that? We didn't invent them.
Yeah, but people like to call them. They like to give themselves the label.
And the labels came from the Islamic traditions themselves, from the Quran. You read there who's a believer and who is a non-believer, and you get the distinguished right from the Quran. So not the non-believer did make that clear who's a Muslim and who's not one, but the Quran. So that is what I think.
Okay, this is the whole point. Why I found this very interesting. What Alicia was doing and saying, well, somebody can be an atheist and a Muslim at the same time. So it depends now on the contents of the words. Now, as Alicia pointed out quite rightly, this is a tricky question because words do not convey meaning. They only convey information, and the meaning is built in the head of the recipient. Now, if I hear the word Muslim, I have a certain allocation, I have a certain association with that word, and this is for me a label, which means, well, there must be two things, and one is there must be a God and there must be prayer. Otherwise, it doesn't mean that there's a Muslim. But I think I understand what Alicia is saying, and that is you can be from your ancestry somebody who comes from a Muslim heritage, and the heritage then plays a role in how you behave towards certain things. But then I would imagine this is the same as any human being. Then I would not, and there I agree with what Naim Ike is saying, that you can't label yourself a Muslim just because you say there's no compassion in religion or something like that. Just because this happens to be something that you can find also in Islam, I don't think that is sufficient. So it's quite tricky to say what the. I think everybody has their own minimum requirement, but I don't think you can say that you can be a Muslim and an atheist, because I think Muslim always contains the element of God, which an atheist. Alicia, anything you'd like to say to that?
Yeah, well, I would agree with you. It's just that I know people that perhaps they're from countries where their ID is Muslim. Perhaps it's because their family heritage, but they call themselves Muslim when they don't believe in God.
Okay, so all right, that is a very valid point now. So somebody, because I also said if somebody calls themselves Muslim, then I should accept that they're Muslim. But you're right, it's not always the case, because it's exactly my point where I associate Muslim with a specific behavior or a specific contents of that word. So that's interesting. And now Akbar has left, just as I wanted to ask him what he thought the minimum requirement should be for a Muslim and what Muslims actually are. So can we all agree that a casual Muslim, and I like this casual so much, because this cultural, to me, it already has this Jewish lack of operating a light switch connotation with the cultural Jew, for example, who a lot of times have these things. So then I prefer this casual Muslim to cultural Muslim. And then this would also then, and I've just realized that this would then accommodate Alicia, because you have the casual Muslim who actually is a Muslim, and then you have the cultural aspect, has somebody coming from a Muslim heritage, but who is not actually a Muslim any longer. Just says, okay, I'm a Muslim because it's part of the tribal name or something.
May I ask a question?
Go.
Traditional Muslims, they accepted the first part of the Shahada, believing in one God, not the second half regarding Muhammad. That would mean Jews, Christians are Muslims according to this definition. Would that be correct?
Well, it depends on how you define God.
Jewish God, Christian God?
Well, they can't be the same God, because the Jewish God doesn't have a son, even though the Quran says that he has, but he doesn't.
The Quran says that the Jewish accept that Jesus had... Sorry, can you repeat that again?
The Quran says that the Jewish God has a son, Ezra.
Oh, I've never heard that one before.
Oh, that's in the Quran. I can't change that.
It could actually, you know, where in the, I'm going to use this next time I speak to a Muslim.
Yeah, sure. You just go to Quran and enter Ezra. It only exists once in the entire Quran, and that is, I can't now from the top of my head. Well, I can easily find out. I just need to open the that takes too long. Just enter Ezra, Ezra, into any search thing. So Quran Ezra, and you will see where it is. It's very, very quick, very easy. So this is what I'm saying. It depends on how you define God, because in the Tawheed in Islam is very, very clear that there is only one God. There is no son, there is no mother, there is no daughter, there is nothing associated with this one God, with this one Allah. And that is it. Except that the Quran also says it has daughters with the Manat, Al-Utsa, and so, but that's a different story. That's why they are
Let me just mention where is it? One time in Surah 9, verse 30, the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah. So that's what the Jews say in the Quran.
Thank you.
Thank you. 9:30.
Yes, the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah. And the whole content you can read for yourself, I think.
What, according to ISIS, what's a Muslim according to ISIL or Daesh?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question. Come again?
Sorry, what according to Daesh is a Muslim? Because I know they've been attacking other Muslims.
Okay, Daesh is...
What do they classify? Who do they classify as Muslim?
No, they have the very traditional, very fundamental Sunni interpretation. Does that help you?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was just picking up my Quran. Yeah, thank you.
Wasn't there anyone Muhammad didn't want dead? Stop asking these in-between questions. We're talking about something else at the moment. Yes, there was somebody Muhammad didn't want dead. I think Mary, the Christian that he was having sex with, I think he liked her quite a lot, having sex with her all the time. So I don't think he wanted her dead. We're talking about minimum requirements. I think then we've covered that. No, not Mary, mother of Jesus. This is Mary the Copt. Yes.
A slave woman, I think it was.
It was a present. Muhammad received 2 girls and as a present, and he kept them. And of course, like a good leader should, he had sex, and he preferred Mary the Copt to the other one. I can't even remember the name of the other one. And actually had a son with her, because this was still in the beginning of his career. Later on, he never had any further kids, so they hadn't invented Viagra yet. So then going backwards, we have Alicia again, which was Muslims are being hijacked and YouTube channels are being closed. Which is your favorite? Where do you want to start, Alicia?
Well, I don't have much to say about it, but I've been a Muslim since childhood, and I'm living in a non-Muslim environment. I live in a country town, but when I go to the city, to the Islamic centre, I notice progressively they're going backwards.
Backwards meaning what?
Backwards meaning the nearest Islamic centre so I don't get there very often. But it was started by fairly forward-looking people. They didn't have an imam. Everyone took turns to lead the prayer, and they didn't worry about what the ladies were wearing. But it's just progressively become more conservative, and it's different people. I think they've under the law they have to have a committee. It's legally it's the same as a company, so they have to have a board of directors and a general meeting. So the committee members are progressively being voted in, the more conservative ones, and everything's becoming more conservative. And similarly,
people still the same?
No. The people, well, in Australia there's immigration, so the Muslim population is going up all the time. So it's every few years the balance is really different. That's whichever country is the most popular one for immigration. So that the recent arrivals tend to dominate, and some of them, I think, they really want social support. They might not be very religious in themselves, but others, they are from a conservative background and they want it to be like back home. So it just,
so they leave their country and then they go to the next country.
Exactly. And like at the board of directors at the moment, there's not allowed to be more than, or the committee, there can only be 2 committee members from each country. So out of the 10 members, 2 are from India, 2 are from Bangladesh, 2 are from Pakistan, 2 are from Sri Lanka, which are all overlapping cultures, all quite conservative. And then there's 1 from Africa, 1 from Jordan. So there isn't really a balance. It's the most recent groups have the numbers, and really they do want it to be like back home.
Wow. Okay, and are you just with some worries or what?
Well, I don't really feel like going there very often because it is an effort. It's a long drive, and I've been in Australia as a Muslim since the 60s, and I go there. They don't know me because they don't see me very often, and they start telling me, you can't be a Muslim because your husband's not a Muslim. You can't be a Muslim because your clothes are wrong. And I never used to get that. Years ago, just happy to see me, that I made the effort to drive 2.5 hours. They see me, but now...
Well, they should bloody well do that. Yes, absolutely.
I know.
Wow,
and
that's amazing. So now, have you tried communicating this?
It's the demographic for Australia because there's a lot of immigration.
Yeah, but then the people that come to the Muslims, what I've heard is that Muslims who come to Australia, then in the second generation they're no longer Muslims because they see that there's no point in doing that.
Oh, yeah. But there are a lot of immigration, so maybe it's possible that maybe after so many years, once they're established in the community, they might stop going to the mosque. Oh, and the other thing that happens, everyone turns up for the general meeting and votes along ethnic lines, and then a lot of those people don't go to the mosque every week anyway.
Interesting. But do you also have the standard demographics that you have Shias and Sunnis and Sufis and so on all voting against each other?
Everyone is in together. There are not enough mosques to be one or the other, so everyone has to share.
But they don't fight one another?
No, not that I've noticed.
Okay, so because this is what I have noticed, that people have, if they have a common enemy, or not a common enemy, but if they have the common factor of a non-Muslim and a Muslim, then they tend to get along. But only when the numbers are higher, then they start differentiating between Muslims and Muslims.
Well, maybe the numbers are still low enough that they're not differentiating. But a lot of the mosques, where I live, as I said, it's the country, there's not much choice. But even in the cities, there might be a mosque that calls itself a Turkish mosque or a Pakistani mosque, but they might not be the majority. It's really because there aren't enough mosques for every little group to have their own, so they have to share.
Okay, but now, have you voiced your concerns? Have you communicated what you are saying here?
I've just withdrawn, really. Because I'm not part of the community enough. I'm too far away.
Yeah, but are the others not also in a similar situation?
Say again?
Aren't the others in a similar situation? I mean, I take it that this is not a huge town.
Well, this would be a town of maybe 250,000.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought it's a bit small.
No. Where I live is tiny, but the nearest Islamic centre, the town would be 250,000.
Okay, so that's substantial. All right. So, have you ever tried telling them, listen, guys, what you are doing is you're segregating?
Oh. I have tried that actually on the basis of the prejudice that I have had. I have objected, but they just don't. They're too much insular. They're too much stick with their own group, and I think it is really to do with recent migrants. They want everything like back home, and it's a big struggle for them to deal with other ethnic groups, other sects, and then they have to deal with someone like me that doesn't fit in clearly. I think it's too much for them.
Fascinating. I mean, this is real life Islam in the 21st century, and I think there are a lot of areas where you have exactly your kind of situation.
Yeah, and the websites are the same. When I first went on the internet, there were a few beautiful websites, and they've just become Islam Online. If it's still going, it got taken over by. It was international, but it got taken over by a particular group I think in the Emirates, and they didn't allow anyone else to have any real input into it. And then another one I belong to, BeliefNet, which is American, and it has a section for every different faith. And I think it's been taken over by Christians, because there are very few Muslims there anymore on the Muslim page, and it keeps redirecting me to Christian pages. Yeah, okay. Seriously. So I think that's what's happening, is the similar thing that you might be facing. I think a lot of Muslims who are more progressive, more forward-thinking, are facing the same tactics.
Oh. Yeah, it's a pity, actually. Well, the thing is that, you know, as a child, as a teenager, I went to school in Tehran. And I went to Pakistan, I went to Afghanistan, and I was in Damascus. So in those days, or even in Egypt, even in those days, I mean, you didn't see any woman in a niqab or something in Cairo or in Tehran. There were very few women wearing a chador in Tehran. And then after the 79 revolution, when the Ayatollahs took over there, it became progressively worse. And this is something where the fundamentalists have taken over and have, you know, brought to bear their influence and made it more and more stringent in their attitudes. So yeah, over the last 30 years, it has become like that.
I don't. Sorry, this is a stupid question, or it's been asked, answered before. But why, Alicia, did you decide to become a Muslim rather than a Christian or an atheist or something?
Okay, just by circumstance. Maybe I read too much poetry at an early age. My parents were not religious, but my mother was an Orientalist, and my father had lived in Indonesia. So really, that was the first religion that I was exposed to. And so the question is, why did I become a Muslim? Why did I become religious when I was from a secular family? And honestly, I don't know. To me, Islam suits me the best, but it doesn't really, to me, it's just by circumstance or temperament. It's not, it's the one that suits me. It's not the other way around.
So would you say you cherry pick verses out of the Quran? You don't believe it's 100%, word of God, 100% perfect?
I don't see it in those terms. I think words are tricky things. I'm surprised that the revelation of God is in words at all, because words have more than one meaning. Words are not clear. So I think I like to do the salat. I like praying. I like to listen to the Quran. I find wisdom, comfort, inspiration, but I would say I'm not a scholar. So
can I ask, do you speak Arabic or?
Not at the moment. I used to speak a little bit, but I've let it go. So I used to maybe know quite a lot of the sort of words you would have in the Quran. But at the moment I've let it go. So.
You have no intention to learn it, because I mean, if you could speak it, you maybe would like it more. The whole.
Oh no, it's not that. It's the last 10 years I've been looking after elderly parents, and my brain has turned to jelly. I've just been stressed and overloaded, and it's just I've let it go. So it's like maybe one day.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that was that. Alicia, is there anything else that you would like to talk about regarding the development of Muslims today?
No, that's all. Thanks.
Well, then I will say thank you very much to you, because I think you've provided a very valuable input showing everyday life, what it is, what it can be like for a Muslim. If you see the current developments and you see the current trends, and I think there's a lot of people out there who, like you, are being sort of marginalized because of the recent developments.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure, go ahead.
The reason I've been listening to the Gin and Tonic show on podcasts. The reason I'm so interested in the Gin and Tonic show is to actually learn about my religion. Seriously. Because everybody, the Muslims, a lot of it is they have their own agenda, and they're giving you half of a verse or a quarter of a verse or a quarter of a hadith. They are the ones that are cherry picking, because they're trying to push their own viewpoint and just back it up with some scripture.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose that's true. I've been on forums and I've seen this too, when people come and they say, well, the Quran commands you not to kill anyone, and then they say, well, you're not allowed to kill anyone innocent and things like that. And I say, yeah, but hang on, what are you saying? Who is innocent and blah, blah, blah. So then you go and you get the context out of them, and then in the end they have to admit that they just took a quarter of a verse, like you said. Okay, yeah, brilliant.
It should be a Monty Python sketch.
Well, sometimes it is. And sometimes it is a little bit irrational if I look at these things. I mean, for example, I was banned from the Sunni forum. I mean, this is one of the biggest forums in the world. they banned me because I cited a hadith, a Sunni forum. Okay, they have to believe, or they have to accept a Sahih Bukhari hadith as being authentic. I mean, Sahih is authentic, so there's no two ways. If the contents is being considered as authentic, and the isnad, the chain of revelation, everything is there, then they can't really argue with it. And yet they banned me when I gave them 2 of these sentences, where Muhammad teaches his own people how to rape the captives properly, the female captives properly, and enjoy their orgasms while they're at it. When I cited that and I quoted this, they immediately banned me because they cannot handle their own texts, because it's as you say, they cherry pick. They only take the nice parts where there was no smoke coming from the chimney, which showed how poor a person Muhammad was and how charitable he was. No, that's rubbish. He was one of the richest warlords on the whole peninsula, if he actually existed. But they don't like that. They don't want to see reality. They only want to see their own version of a fairy tale. And I'm sorry, I don't support that.
Can I talk a little bit a story from the other side, maybe?
Go.
Because I've always I'm looking around to learn about Islam, to learn new things, little small things who were mentioned just on the sideway, etc. And I've found a little website. It's in German, and at the first I thought it's a good site. It's very critical. It looks on everything, etc. And the people are talking there, and they are the same. They are against Islam, but they are in the end the same, cherry picking. And that the funny thing is, they go after some Muslims in the same forum. They go after them. They say to them, "You are a liar. You are just telling bullshit, and stop with this bullshit, etc." And on the other hand, if I, as a non-believer, I'm critical to the other non-Muslims in the forum, they immediately warned me, you shouldn't talk to people like that, you shouldn't talk to them, they are liars, etc., because it's against our rules. And then I said, well, wait, I'm acting now against the rules because some pro-Israeli guys didn't like my comments to them, but you are allowed to say to Muslims they are liar and they are filthy sometimes, etc. But I am against you, so this is not right if I say something against you. So on the other side you have the same people. People are people. That's the thing. People are people, and they are cherry picking on all sides which they need. So I just wanted to say it's a funny thing you find.
Yeah, they're applying double standards. Yeah.
Yeah. That was it.
Okay, then Akbar has left, but he's left us with a topic, which is the objective treatment of Islam and how to apply rational thinking to Islam. And I must admit, I find that very, very, very difficult. Now, I try and be objective. I try and I think I've bent over backwards and try to be fair towards Islam and be fair towards Muslims. That I say, look, there are positive things that you can derive from Islam. And I don't only bash Islam completely. But it is very tough for me to be objective when I know that, for example, Islam has citizens second class. And you have 3 different types of humans mentioned in the Quran. You have males, you have slaves, and you have women. And you have 3 different types. Now, how can you objectively ignore things like that? It's very, very difficult to get away from this when you have this knowledge. And then how can you be objective if Muslims come and say, yeah, but Islam is the best religion and it's the best way of life and everything, when I see that it is exactly the opposite? So it's very difficult. Does anybody have an idea on what objective treatment of Islam should look like?
What do you mean by the word objective? Because it sounds to me like you are being objective if you're judging it based on what it's actually saying. Do you mean diplomatic?
No, actually, you've caught me out. No, I mean objective being objective, and I just realized actually I'm being, well, it's true. I am looking at both sides, but I am biased. I am biased against Islam because I know the negative contents of the doctrine. I cannot be objective, and I cannot say, let me see if there is anything inherently good in Islam, because I know that there are too many negative things right from the word go.
Well,
so can I be objective?
I could a little disagree with you, actually, because in my point of view, your knowledge of the negative parts brings you closer to the objectivity, and ignoring those parts would make you more subjective than objectives. And also, I missed the few seconds I had for the previous topic when you discussed why everyone tried to listen, well, like to listen to the Quranic show. Well, for me, it was to learn about what the people around me believe or could believe. Because in my line of work, I deal with a lot of types of people, and some of them are with very fragile minds. So some of them can joke on very, very sensitive topics, and for some of them, you have to be very careful what you say, even if it seems just reasonable and not even a joke for you. And about the killings and death penalty that was discussed previously, well, about you should kill only the innocent, etc. If I recall correctly, in my country, death penalty is actually banned in the government. So you cannot get death penalty even if you're a mass murderer, if I recall correctly.
Sorry, just where are you from?
Unfortunately, at this point, I don't think I'm ready to disclose that. I'm from an ex-Soviet country.
I was going to say east of Berlin.
Yes, a lot east of Berlin. Well, I'm somewhere near China, let's say like that. So yeah, since I was in school, we actually had politology lessons, and there we discussed that we do not have a death penalty, and the secular state of our republic is declared in our constitution. So in this aspect, I think we're actually ahead of the United States, where you still can get death penalty.
Okay, that is true. But now, if you want to know what Muslims believe, I mean that's a huge topic. I don't know. Have you did you watch my videos when I still had the YouTube account?
Yes, of course. I watched almost all of your
showed
videos.
what Muslims have to believe, and I gave some examples of what is required of Muslims. I showed the horrible, I showed the humorous, I showed the pathetic, I think I showed all different aspects of what Muslims are supposed to believe.
Yes, I actually really liked your videos. I listened to a lot of them on my way to work and back. Well, I think we're getting a little sidetracked. Is that okay?
No, it's fine. We still have a lot of time on the show. I mean, we still have 40 minutes, so it's fine.
Yes. Well, of course I understand that there is no simple answers to what a Muslim believes, because for every person, for every Muslim, there is a different type of Muslim. There is a different type of Islam. Each of them believes to a different degree and believes different things depending on what they find moral or acceptable.
Agree,
the same,
100%.
yeah.
And the minimum, do you have a minimum?
I cannot say. Well, for me, I would, as everyone already discussed, and I agree with everyone's opinion that most of them would be just called heretics from the point and perspective of the original Muslims that were in the beginning of Islam. But on the other hand, it's very hard to categorize what is a minimum, because you cannot give the minimum requirements for a term to be labeled with a label that you cannot actually define. So, for example, what is the minimal requirements to be a square cube? I'm sorry, around circle. Oh, okay, I'm really sleepy right now. A square circle. You cannot define it. You don't have a definition yet for that, so you cannot give a minimal requirement. So I actually don't know how to define something that can have many different definitions. Because of that, I cannot have a minimal requirement. So for some person, it could be just to name himself one. For another person would be to accept all the dogma and follow all the rituals.
Okay, but hang on. If you say this is a rectangle, it can be a square, a cube, it could be all sorts of things.
Yes,
but it needs to be a rectangle and it can never be a circle. So the minimum requirement for something to be a rectangle is that it has 4 right angles. So
yes, sorry, I said a stupid thing. Well, for example, let's invent a term and call it a banana blaster. What is a banana blaster? How to define that a thing is a banana blaster? I think everyone here in the chat would imagine a different thing when I say banana blaster. Maybe this analogy would be better.
No, actually it's not, because you can define the minimum requirements to be called a banana blaster.
It should have something to do with bananas, am I right?
Like the same thing with the minimum requirement of a Muslim is that a Muslim cannot believe that there are no gods.
Well,
unless, of course, you are a casual Muslim, like Elijah has described earlier.
Yes, that's why I use the term casual Muslim, because most of them don't actually have a god as a real being or a real part of their worldview.
Exactly. This is the point. So you can be an atheist depending on how you define your God. So if the minimum requirement for a God, what is the minimum requirement for a God? You have to start from there then. And I think that, okay, then you're already lost, because there is no minimum requirement for a God. No,
well, most of them actually cannot define a God.
Well, the minimum requirement for a God is that it's not human.
Well, there are a lot of things that are not human, but they are not gods.
Okay, that's not the point. The minimum requirement for a God is that it can't be a human. I think that would be a true statement.
Are you waiting for my reply?
I'm waiting for anybody to prove me wrong.
I cannot prove you wrong, and I cannot prove you right.
Well,
but can you agree?
Maybe add to the attributes of this definition that it's not a human and it's higher in power. I think that should be a more clear definition and distinguishing from animals, because any other animals is not human and could be in the terms.
Yeah, but I said the minimum requirement. So the minimum requirement for being a Muslim then is that there is what?
Well, I would say not just believe in a God, but believe in a God as described in the Quran. Because
okay, there you agree with me. That is my minimum definition. Yeah. But then I'm asking myself constantly, is that correct? I do not know. This is what I have determined for myself that this is the minimum requirement. But now Alicia, for example, disagrees already because there are also Muslims who can actually be atheists. It just depends on the definition of the individual words.
Yeah, that is why it would be really great if more Muslims would join the show.
But as you said earlier, that you just get, for every different Muslim, you get a different definition of what it means to be a Muslim.
Yes, we could gather statistics.
This a lot of times. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. What is the minimum? What is the minimum requirement that a Muslim would accept for being called a Muslim?
Well, I think this is a dead end because we cannot define a Muslim.
Well, is a Muslim somebody who necessarily has to? No, I think a Muslim has to agree or must believe that the contents of the Quran is of divine origins.
If a Muslim based on the description in the Quran, then yes. But we don't have. We must first agree on which source or which statement we should base our definition of a Muslim.
Also true.
In all other cases, it would be just speculation.
So you're right. This is a dead-end discussion. It's an individual, highly individualistic, and everybody has to decide for themselves how they label themselves. Yeah. True.
Islam is very much based on practice more than just belief. That's why the 5 pillars of Islam, they're all things that you do. They're not a list of beliefs, it's a list of actions.
Good point, yeah.
But that includes praying regularly, and if you're a Muslim atheist, to whom are you praying?
Well, I mean, they are not practicing anything. They just call themselves, they still call themselves Muslim, and it may be from loyalty maybe, because the Muslim, the last decade or so have been getting a bit of trouble, you know?
Yeah, but then, as you say, it's an empty shell. It doesn't really have any context because there are no actions associated with it.
Yeah, and I think it's just loyalty to their parents, to their culture.
I could imagine that the people who are calling them still Muslims but don't believe in the God anyway, just go to the mosque and hang out with the people. Just
the social aspect, yeah.
Drinking tea,
or they don't even
talking.
go to the mosque.
Yes, over here they actually don't. Many of them don't go to the mosque. And for example, following your analogy, if I call myself a British citizen and try to fake a British accent, would I be a British citizen automatically? Could I be called? Could I call myself that?
If that is how you define it, yes.
Well, we then discovered that the definition of a British is defined in the Constitution and the laws of the Great Britain, of the country.
They don't have a constitution.
Yes, so everyone that does not base their definition of a British citizen on that document is basically lying or wrong.
From their point of view, they are actually telling the truth because, like I said, it always depends on the individualistic interpretation of what a British subject is.
Yes, of course, but we still have an official declaration, an official source, the first document where this definition was described.
I'm just reading this. GPZ is making an interesting point, which if you take it a little bit further, you can say that a Muslim, for example, doesn't necessarily have to believe in God, but can believe in Muhammad, because Muhammad actually existed. No reaction from anybody? Come on, that was outright. I mean, that's.
Well,
what was
I
the
don't
saying?
know.
What was the saying that don't believe in God, but the minimum requirement that you believe in Muhammad? Or what do you mean?
You floored them, absolutely. No, I like that because I mean, even if you are an atheist Muslim, you can still believe in Muhammad because you can think he was real. And he's your idol. I mean, he's the role model that you are following. I mean, come on. I mean, if you cherry pick his hadiths, absolutely valid, absolutely possible.
Seriously cherry pick, I'd say. Like completely ignore huge aspects of his personality.
Absolutely, but it's possible. I mean, come on. It depends on your level of delusion, I agree. But come on, it's possible. I mean, we are speculating at the moment. What we're doing at the moment is just playing around with ideas and just checking them out and seeing what happens.
Well, then would be the Shahada very shortened and it would be called Muhammad.
Exactly.
Basically just Muhammad, okay.
But then you have to say it 3 times and throw some pepper over your right shoulder. Because it's rituals, okay, it's actions. And I like Alicia's approach that she says, okay, it's all actions. And this is the whole point. It's the rituals that determine this. And if you start being nonsensical and say, well, there is no God, it's only Muhammad, then I mean, there's no boundary, there's no limit to what you want to do.
You are silent, Alicia.
There's the Muhammad of the imagination, as opposed to a historical person we really don't know that much about. So I think any Muslim is idealizing and putting the very best of what they think a good person should be and saying, oh, that's what Muhammad was like. And obviously he wasn't. He was just some guy, and he did the best that he could for that time and place. But he just gets idealized, and there are miracles attributed to him. It just gets built up.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think the operative word here is for his time. And that is it.
Yeah.
I don't like the point that a lot of people are making that he was a pedophile. No, in his day and age, he was not considered a pedophile. It was common practice that you behead people in those days. It was common practice that you did blah, 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 blah. So I don't understand why Muslims can't be honest enough and just say, okay, yes, I accept it. He did that, and that was normal at the time, and that is it.
The reason to make that point is because they then call for modern morality to be based on their text. You can't have it both ways. Either their morality is to be judged by our morality today.
That's a negative point, that he can't be an idol for all times. Sorry, Jeremy, did I cut you off now?
No. You've got to have it one way or the other. It's either like relative, but you can't use the Quranic morality to, it's no use to for informing today's morality, which would be my position, obviously, or whether the Quran is relevant or isn't relevant. Yeah, or you say the Quran is relevant to today. But then...
Is that a question?
Can't it be both?
Well, I don't think it can be both, really. I mean, I think if it's relevant today, then you say, okay, he was a paedophile. But if you're saying, well, okay, it was normal for that time, well, then it's completely useless. The contents are completely useless for determining our modern morality, because we're giving people a pass on all sorts of horrible behaviour. So
I like what the neo-Confucianists are doing in China. They're saying Confucius wanted everyone in society included except for women who are lower than cattle. Well, we don't accept that. We accept everyone as equal. We include everyone. So they've just cut through something that was a major problem with Confucianism. They've just cut through it in one stroke.
Well, I'd say that that's
And yet
not.
they haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater, but they've used logic and reasoning and tried to be their best.
This is what a lot of religious people do. This is cherry picking. So you're using a modern moral zeitgeist to take your morality, but then you're looking at a religious text.
We live here and now. We don't live in the 7th century.
Well, exactly. And then you're looking at a religious text and you're picking out a few bits that happen to match your modern morality and saying, this is from religion, but it's not. It's from your modern moral zeitgeist. That's where you're getting your actual morality.
Well, both. It's a combination.
I don't agree that you're getting any of your morality from the religious text. You're getting your morality independently of the religious text, and then you're looking at the religious text and pretending you get it from there.
Could be.
Alicia,
it's confirmation bias.
Can I ask something different? Alicia, no, I just forgot it. Sorry. Stop's fault. He made me forget.
Okay, so what else are we talking about? We've still got 20 minutes that we can discuss. Anybody? Now he remembers. Okay, I'll shut up.
My question would be: would you edit the Quran if you could to make it more for the 21st century?
Maybe.
That was a very precise statement.
No, because I mean, there are verses and whole surahs who are really in some historical content. No doubt about it. If you read it, there is a specific thing that has happened and that has no meaning today because it doesn't help really for today's problems. So.
Well, you're not allowed to marry the prophet's wives. I mean, come on, what's it doing in the Quran?
Something like that. I mean, what should help you in the life today if for specific things who you can't really do anyway? Or like I talked in the German show today, you have to go to Muhammad and circle the Kaaba. You can't go anymore to Muhammad. But in the Quran it says, let the people come to you. So this makes no meaning. Things like that, I mean. Could you imagine to remove things like that, historical things?
Well, I think everyone's doing that in their head. Because people are focusing on the parts that they like and just brushing over the parts they don't like. And the very conservative
this is exactly what you are saying. You are saying that there are more and more fundamentalists coming in because you exactly have these parts of the Quran. Imagine if what Ike is saying, you could remove all those parts and leave only the benevolent parts in there, then it wouldn't happen, would it?
Just leave the spiritual things in there, which you need for the afterlife, the spiritual things.
Yeah.
If I was going to edit the Quran, I'd actually put more jokes in.
No, but the question is valid. I mean, would you, Alicia, would you go and modify it, edit it to leave only the stuff?
I might be tempted.
or better,
that would then be the result of what you personally understand Islam to be. Because I think you are looking for spiritual guidance through something, and you have decided for yourself what this is, and then using confirmation bias, you look at this and you say, oh yeah, this could be it. I'll take it. But you're ignoring all the ugly parts.
Maybe don't answer the thing, because after now we are talking a little bit about this issue. If people see you and they think about you, you are no Muslim, and maybe they threaten you after that. So let us leave this whole thing. It's maybe not a good idea, because, I mean...
I think they're a bit sus on me already.
Yeah, but don't make this whole thing bigger.
Yeah,
sorry, sorry
I know
for the
what
question.
you
I
mean.
just
Yeah.
was interested in maybe, but after the whole thing, I think it's a bad thing to answer it anyway. So, thank you anyway.
Mm.
Ace, what
Thanks.
about you? Why did you leave us? Why are you coming back now only?
The TV was too loud. I was watching Formula One.
Ah, yes, I hate you for that.
Sorry for that.
But come on, aren't you disgusted that Hamilton won?
What? No, I was watching whether Vettel could chase back after losing his place from yesterday.
Because I hate Hamilton. I think he's a whiny little spoiled brat. Anyway, do you want... We were talking about the objective treatment of Islam and a rational approach to it, and we were just talking about how the Islam of today is being hijacked by some Muslims, and I was just wondering how you see this in your environment, because you're not so far away.
Oh yeah, usually the ones who are really religious, like the mullahs and the clerics, are the ones who are trying to control society. Like whenever there's a TV show or anything to do with culture, they will try to intervene. But in normal everyday life, Muslims usually don't think about, like, if they try to go out and eat and everything, they usually just ignore a lot of what is in the Quran and Hadith.
Exactly, yeah. I think anybody who knows a little bit about the Quran and is a little bit more removed from it emotionally will come to the same conclusion.
That presumably doesn't apply to the guy in the UK who I read a news story about this week, who's suing Prepto because there was some pork, or there was some pork in something. He was, I don't know, a piece of pepperoni or something.
Yeah, I read this. This is so funny. I think this is hilarious. I don't know, when you have people coming to a country and then saying everybody has to do exactly what I want. I think this was Alicia was saying, if you have immigrants and then they come to your country and then they try and change it so that it represents the same as what they had at home. I think that's so ridiculous and so stupid. And it shows such a lack of respect, and I don't know why that is. I mean, we've been living in the Middle East for I don't know how long. So I've had to, every Ramadan, I have to hide somewhere in the car when I'm eating lunch. I can't go anywhere. At work, we have to go and hide away in some like empty office because we're not allowed to eat in full view just in case a Muslim comes around. So we adjust to the country's culture and to the environment, and we respect the norms there. So I don't understand why Muslims can't do the same when they come to another country. Why is it that Muslims then have all these representations and care and this and this and this, and everybody needs to, like this woman who was on the plane and said she wants a closed tin of Coke. Well, she doesn't get a closed tin of Coke, and she threw a tantrum there. And because she's not getting a closed can of Coke, I don't understand what this is. I don't know. It's weird.
The women on the plane, everybody else were getting closed cans of Coke, apart from this young lady. She wasn't Muslim.
No.
We refused to give her a can of Coke, which was closed. They opened it for her, and the excuse they used, apparently, was because she was Muslim and they thought she might use it as a weapon.
No, you're not supposed to hand out closed tins, full stop. The guy with the closed tin of beer, that was a mistake, actually.
If I find the site, I think with the BBC news site, if I find the site, I'll either email it to you. I'm sorry, Facebook to you.
Let me tell also a little story. In Switzerland last year it happened. We had voting in the U.S. you would call it a county. Had a vote about the burqa. It should be banned, so no burqa anymore. Period. And then a little news post asked Arab tourists what they think about this. And some Arab tourists from Saudi Arabia were very funny and said things like, it is discrimination, it goes against us, and it is strange, and how can you treat us like that? But the journalist should have asked, well, could I, as a woman, undress and walk alone in the street of Riyadh or in the street of Mecca or Medina? That she should have asked, but she asked just what he thinks about, and he just blended the whole world around him out and just looked at it himself, and it's discrimination against me, and he was a tourist, so it's fascinating. Yes,
I think it's more sad.
It is also sad, but sad things can still be fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, concerning the topic of food, if I could add one story that I read in the news. Some religious leaders tried to ban the use of the label halal on markets and fast foods, because they thought that the word and the label halal was not used spiritually, or I don't know how to say it. Well, it wasn't used with the best intentions. It was used for marketing. Because of that, they created an initiative to get rid of that word and that label and replace it with something else, not to taint it. I don't know exactly where that initiative went, because most of the initiatives they echo from one country here to another. We still are quite connected, and I think nothing came of it. But you can still see halal on KFC and other fast food restaurants here.
Yeah, but it doesn't work. I mean, I know that in Australia it's actually quite expensive, because you need to fulfill some requirements, and you need to have checks in place, and you need to be registered and blah, blah, blah. And to do all that is expensive for a company. So a lot of companies are saying, listen, you can go and stick this halal label wherever you want it, but we are not going to comply with it because it's simply too expensive. And I think it's stupid, because, you know, what is halal actually? At the end of the day, there is no way that you can totally eliminate the presence of pork or alcohol or anything in any kind of food or medicine or anything that you are taking. I mean, go to South America. In Brazil, half the cars are driving with bloody alcohol. So how are you going to avoid the contact with alcohol if you are a Muslim in Brazil? You can't. And then there's hundreds of products which contain pork. So how are you going to eliminate this? I think this is stupid.
Well, actually, a lot of the products here do not contain pork, though you can still buy sausages and different types of meat products that are made of pork, that are not in vacuum sealed containers, just regular sausages that are just next to halal ones.
Sorry, what I'm saying is, when you are saying that there are products which do not contain pork, that is the mistake. Because how have you ascertained that there is no pork in there?
Well, basically, if I remember correctly, they have different farms where no pigs are allowed near, but I don't know the details. I just know they're described and declared contains. But about the alcohol, that actually started to pop up here only a few years ago. and most of the people that follow the rule, I actually am against alcohol as a drink, because it actually ruins a lot of people. But most of the people are oblivious that medicines contain alcohol, because only alcohol can dissolve some of the chemicals that you need to take in as a medicine. For example, the syrups you take when you're sick. They're oblivious to that.
But do you know that the Quran neither mentions alcohol nor that it is forbidden?
I think I heard that either in your video or in the show. But I was quite
Probably
shocked.
both.
Yes, probably both. I was quite shocked because actually the next day I took a taxi from the mall, and I bought some lemonade. Just your regular lemonade. But it was in glass bottles. The classic lemonade, just like in the Soviet era, but it's better than the modern lemonade because it's mostly natural. And it's distributed in glass bottles, and the taxi driver, when he heard on a bump the sound of glass bottles, he went almost white and asked me scared, did I put alcohol in his car?
Oh, goodness. This is the level of superstition that you get in the 21st century. It's unbelievable. And what was your answer?
Well, I'm actually all for not provoking or insulting people without any reason. So I just shown him that it was lemonade, told him to relax, told him that I know what he's talking about, I understand, and I would never bring alcohol in his taxi. He said, "Thank you for the."
You are the customer.
Because I have to have everyone here has to find a balance. He replied that, "Thank you for the respect and understanding. Please understand, this is just a thing I cannot do, and I'm really happy I do not have to ask you to find another taxi."
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So we agreed on mutual respect, and that's the story. But when I went out of the taxi, of course, I had a small laugh with my friends, but of course with no insults.
Okay.
When you hear of that kind of reaction, though, it's a bit of a joke that people who think there can be massive Muslim immigration into Europe and not have the European way of life changed radically, because I mean that would be just totally foreign to a liberal Western country, isn't it?
It is in so many respects, because come on, you get into a bus and you have a woman, a real woman sitting next to you. I mean, how that is not possible. How can anybody do that? And then you have this woman pull out a bottle of schnapps or something, and she will drink a sip of schnapps while sitting next to you on the bus. Oh, goodness gracious, what are you going to do?
Well, on a side note, you can't actually drink alcohol in public places here. I mean, on the streets or on the buses.
No, I'm talking about a Muslim who is coming from Saudi and
Yes,
he rocks up in Paris.
Yes, I know. That was just on a side note.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, the US still has those old laws as well, where you cannot have an open container, and they're paranoid. And I know that because I love watching these things, because I'm a provocateur. Okay, I'm an instigator. I love all these things. I love getting into people's faces. So I watch these videos that you get about, for example, a cop in, I can't remember, it was somewhere in the US, who went and arrested somebody for drinking alcohol in public when all it was iced tea. It was just that it happened to be in a bottle, and he was too stupid to first ask the guy, "What are you drinking?" He automatically assumed it was alcohol and arrested the guy. and then they had to pay 20,000 in damages because he abused the guy and false arrest and all that other stuff. So this is quite pathetic. Okay, any other topics, any closing remarks anybody wants to make? Because I don't think it's worth opening up a whole new can of worms at the moment. Anybody else? Nobody.
I checked up the Diet Coke under the plane. Spam, you was right. I was wrong.
Sorry, say again?
I checked up the Diet can of Coke and the Muslim woman on the plane.
Yes.
You was right. Yeah, I was wrong.
Oh, okay. That it was the can of beer, and they opened it quickly because they realized they made a mistake, or what?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was just hilarious how a Muslima goes and thinks the whole world has to rotate around her now. That all the It's quite strange. Okay, so then what remains for me to do? And yes, I've been a good boy. I have found the hadith of the day, and Alassa is not here. I wonder if Alassa is going to find us eventually. But anyway, I found a hadith which is, this is a weird one. I found it now in the Abu Dawud collection, and it carries the number 1635, or in brackets 3640, depending on which version, with the modern or the older version you're looking. And it says, Al-Mutalib ibn Hantab said, Zayd ibn Thabit entered upon Muawiyah. I don't know, does everybody know who Muawiyah is in historical context?
Have no clue.
Okay, Muawiyah is the first Umayyad caliph. So he is the one who in 660 started off this organized and strategic expansion. And he was the one who quashed the uprising in Egypt, and he was a non-Muslim, even though he was a caliph. Everybody says he's a Muslim, but he was not in Mecca, he was not in Medina. He resided in Damascus, and he was extremely fat, had orgies and alcohol and all stuff like that, so he was hardly a Muslim. Anyway, so this Muawiyah was asked about a tradition, and Muawiyah said, then write this down for me so that we can remember it. And then Zayd ibn Thabit, who wrote Muawiyah, said, the Apostle of Allah ordered us not to write any of his traditions down, so he erased it again. So that would mean that the Apostle of Allah, in other words, Muhammad, said all hadiths are illegal, so they all should be deleted and not used at all. So I wonder what Sunnis are doing if they read this, that Muhammad ordered them not to write down any of his traditions. I found this quite weird. I wonder whether Muslims know this.
Could it not just be that not to write anything from Muawiyah, and that they mean just for
traditions? No. The Sunnah is the traditions.
Okay, the whole. Okay.
So you just need to remember thousands and millions of hadiths. You're not allowed to write them down. So you're just allowed to remember them, but not write them down. So all the hadith collections should be burnt. There you go.
Abu Dawud is not authentic. It's not Sahih. So don't take this serious.
Well, it's Sunnah, so yeah. So are Muslims going to reject everything that Abu Dawud said now?
Well, I think they should. They have to after this hadith.
Exactly.
And
all right, people. Thank you very much, everybody. That's the end of the Gin and Tonic show for today. If anybody wants to join, you will just have to just have to monitor Twitter or Facebook or something. I don't spend as much time as I maybe should on Facebook. I find all these social media things a little bit, I don't know, overrated, to say the least. So I don't spend a lot of time there. I just go there occasionally because I get notifications, and then if something It does happen, then I go and say hi, and that is, but I don't spend much time there. And then what I'm going to do, I don't know if I'm going to manage it this week. I'll go and look at Vaughan TV. If people think that Vaughan TV offers more than a Hangout does, then by all means we should go and give it a look, give it a try. I'll take a look at it. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye, and see you next week at the next exciting edition of the Gin and Tonic Show. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.